This is Eric Manley from Drake University. In this tutorial, we're going to take an app that we worked on in the last video where we used the location sensor to be able to figure out the location of the device. And we're going to kind of build on that and make a little game that you can play outside with your friends called Hot and Cold. So the idea is that you want to have like a secret location that you go and you save that location on the device, and then you have to hand the device to your friends and see if they can figure it out. See if they can figure out where your secret location is by clues that the device gives it, telling it, you know, is it hot, is it warm, is it cold, how close to the secret location it is. Okay, so for this, what we're going to do is we're going to add a button. So the reason we're adding a button is because we want to, in addition to displaying the location like we did in the previous video, we want to be able to save the location so that we can compare our location in the future with a saved location to determine, you know, how close we are to it. Okay, so for this button, I want it to say save location, so that when the user clicks this, the idea is that we will save the location to kind of the memory. And I'm going to rename the button that as well. So save button, it's the save button. There we go. And we're going to jump over in our blocks. We've got our blocks from last time already set up, ready to go. And then we're going to do something when this button is clicked. And the thing that we're going to do is we want to take these locations and save them. Well, how do we save them? We need variables. So first, create two new variables. So initialize global. Initialize global, instead of calling it name, we'll call it the saved latitude, right? This is for saving the latitude. And we're going to have saved longitude. All right, and we need initial values for these, so I'm just going to throw in 0. But that'll get changed immediately when we click a button. All right, so in the save button, what do we want to do? We want to say, well, when they click the save button, we want to change this variable to something new. So we're going to use a setter for that. So set the saved latitude to the actual latitude on the location sensor. So we're going to go to the location sensor. We're going to say, hey, do you have a getter for the current latitude? Yes, you do. There it is. Okay, so we're taking the current value of the location sensor, saving it to this new variable we created, and we'll do the same thing with the longitude as well. So we'll get a setter. We'll say, let's set the saved longitude to be whatever the longitude of the sensor is. There we go. And it's now saved. Okay. All right, so now when we're running, we should be able to click the button and have it saved. Okay. Okay, one more feature I'm going to add is that we are going to, you know, see it here, I can kind of show you what's happening now. I kind of have a finished version of the app. Don't want to give too much away, but you'll see it has a save button. I can hit save, and it'll do something. It'll save the location. Okay. We also want to have a label on which we display some information to the user, you know, hot or cold or warm, how close are they to the actual secret location that you've saved. Okay, so here for the initial value, we'll just kind of like leave it blank. You know, if we don't have any information to respond, we'll just put this dash 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 up here. But back in the blocks, what I'm going to do is say, well, anytime that the location changes, we're going to update the information on this new label. So we'll call this label the hot-cold label. So this is for telling the user how hot or cold they are. Hot-cold label. Okay, so hot-cold label. And coming back in here, let's say, okay. Well, first thing we need to do is we need to figure out, you know, how close are they to the actual location. So what I'm going to do for that is we're going to use an if block. So if you go under the control drawer, find yourself an if-then block, okay, and maybe we'll say, oh, if the value of this variable, so the value, we'll use the getter, so if the value of the, say, the saved latitude And we want it to be within a certain distance of the current latitude. So what I might say is let's take this latitude here, the current latitude, and let's subtract the saved latitude. So under math, I can find a subtraction block. Say subtract the latitude of the current location minus the latitude of the saved location, and then we're going to want to do something if that's within a certain range. So actually before I do that, I'm going to grab an absolute value block. Okay, so absolute value will just make sure that this value doesn't go negative, so that way if they're really close but it's negative, we want to still be able to make a comparison. So this will automatically turn it into a positive. So if the absolute value of subtracting the latitude from the saved latitude is, let's say, less than some certain value, so I'm going to get a comparison block, change it to less than. So as long as the difference between these two values is less than some very small number, which we get to determine, I kind of tested this out a little bit, and I found if we put 0.0001, that's a pretty good number for it. So if these two values are very, very close to each other, then we're going to tell the user that they're hot. They're very, very close. So if you've hidden something there, this would be the time to look around and see if you can find what it was that they hid. So we'll go to the hot-cold label and say, let's change the text of the hot-cold label to say, oh, you're hot. You're very close. Okay, so we've told them that. Now, you've probably figured out, if you're paying attention, that we don't want to just know is the latitude close, right? So this tells us is the difference between my latitude and the saved latitude, is it very, very small? That would mean they're very, very close together. We also want to check if the longitude is very close. So we want to do this same thing. So I still want to get a less than operator. We want to do this for the longitude as well. So copy that. And I'll say we want the absolute value of the difference. So find that minus block again. There it is. So the difference between the current longitude here and the saved longitude, which is a variable, so we use a getter block. So saved longitude. Okay, then we want this to be true as well. Now this is an interesting question of, well, I have two different conditions here, right? This tells me is the latitude very close. This tells me if the longitude's close. But what do I want to do if I need them both to be very close? Well, for this we're going to use a block called an AND block, which is under the logic drawer. So AND will say both of these conditions have to be true, and if both of these conditions are true, then we will display this information. Okay, and so that'll tell us if we're hot. If it's not hot, we might want to have, say, an else part in here, which says instead of saying hot, maybe it says you're cold. If that's not enough information for you, you can even add onto this. We'll maybe make an else if part. So we can give another condition, say if they're within 0.001, we're going to say they're hot. Else if, or otherwise if, let's say they're not within 1, but they are within, say, 0.003. So they're close. They're within, maybe a few meters, but not like really, really close. Then maybe we'll tell them that they're warm. Okay, and of course, when you test this out, you can decide what are the, you can kind of get a feel for what are the right distances for how close you want to go. Maybe 0.001 isn't close enough for you, and maybe you want to have more of these. You can always add in more else if parts to this by just clicking there. Say I want another else if. You could have a hot, you can have a lukewarm, a very cold, a freezing, whatever it is that you want, you can put those in there. Okay. Oops. Lost my else part. There we go. Okay, so test this out. Again, a word of warning, when you're testing this, you have to sometimes be a little bit patient and walk a little slowly. The location sensor on App Inventor doesn't always update as quickly as we would like it to, but it will work if you try it out. Just to kind of show you, we saved that location back when I showed you this test before. I've got the label already set up, and of course, I'm standing right now where it was when I clicked the button, so it's telling me I'm very, very hot. You can test it out, try walking further away, seeing if you can get it to say warm or cold, and so on. And then once you've done that, you can kind of customize this to do all kinds of different location-aware apps, and we'll have some specific exercises for you to work on where you can do just that.